Supervisor Kim.
Thank you, President Breed. And thank you to the members of the public who are here today. And before I get started, if you are here in support of the supplemental appropriation to make San Francisco the first city in the country to make community college free for all of our residents, I'd love for you to rise here today. Thank you. Thank you. I want to share some words about why the ordinance before us today is so important to me and to so many people here in this room. In the 20th century, our government made an expensive choice. They determined that a public education system, K through 12, was fundamental to our citizenry and a workable nation, and that this public education should be free and universal to everyone. And in the 20th century, in large part due to this choice that legislators and government made to make an expensive investment in human capital, America became great. Now, I am the last person to invoke the words of our president-elect coming up next year, but I do want to have a conversation today about what it truly means to make our country great. It used to be that good-paying jobs only required a high school diploma, and that this diploma was enough to give most Americans an opportunity to climb into the middle class or stay in the middle class if they were already there. But in the last 30 years, we have seen that innovation and technology has raced ahead of our public education system. Research shows that by 2020, 70% of all American jobs will require a post-secondary certificate, training, or degree. And politicians are taking note of that. In 2015, President Obama unveiled a proposal to make community college free for all Americans for 2 years. States like Oregon, Minnesota, Tennessee, Kentucky have implemented some form of free community college in their states. Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton this year both campaigned on a platform that community college should be free. As policymakers, it is important that we continually examine and re-examine the tools and resources we consider fundamental to allowing our citizens the best opportunity, a fighting chance to become productive members of our society. So I'm going to make the case today to this Board of Supervisors and to the Mayor's office that this should also include making community college free again. I've heard a couple of questions over and over during this debate. One, why isn't this program means tested? Why should the founder of Facebook be able to go to City College for free if he or she should so choose? Why should we subsidize his education? I've also heard the question, why shouldn't we phase this program in? And finally, the last question, why should I vote to dedicate Proposition W to making City College free when it actually isn't required by the language of the ordinance? I thought I addressed the first two questions with some of these words. If I had put forward an ordinance today before the Board of Supervisors that we would now begin to means test K through 12 public education, I would be run out of this room. Yet, why should we subsidize the public education for the children of the founder of Facebook? Because we believe that K through 12 education is a public good, one that all of society benefits from, and that we all gain when kids graduate from high school. But I'm going to state a much more compelling reason today for why I believe that we should make City College free for all. I don't believe a high school diploma is enough to give individuals the tools and resources to have the opportunity to succeed in San Francisco or in this country today. And whether we like it or not, our president-elect isn't going to save every carrier-esque job that only requires a high school diploma here in this country. In fact, he didn't even save those jobs, regardless of what he said over the last few weeks. But I want to talk about the elephant in the room, in the policy room of most cities across this nation, and that is the income and wealth gap. Cities across the nation are seeing a rapidly growing income gap. And here in San Francisco, we have the fastest growing income gap of any city in this nation, according to the Brookings Institution. According to our own Human Services Agency data, Our income gap in San Francisco rivals the country of Rwanda, who does slightly better than we do in sharing wealth, and a little bit better than the country of Guatemala. The middle class here in San Francisco is shrinking. Between 1990 and 2012, our middle class, defined as those that make between $50,000 and $150,000 a year, a family of four, shrunk from 45% of San Francisco's population to 34% today. Meanwhile, the percentage of those individuals making under $25,000 has grown, and the percentage of those that are making above $100,000 has grown as well. In 1970, the middle class outnumbered those that were in the lower class and upper income brackets. Today, here in this country, those that are living under the poverty line and those who are living wealthy now outnumber the middle class. No one can deny this growing inequality, and we don't need to agonize over the data numbers. We see it on our streets. We see it when we see tents lined up next to condos that are being rented out for families of four that make $270,000 a year. That is the market rate for rent here in San Francisco. Not luxury, the market rate. We see it when we see homeless people outside of the headquarters of Twitter. And I believe that we are responsible for at least attempting, at least trying to reverse this trend. There's no better way of doing this than by investing in our citizens, investing in their education, and to raise their likelihood of succeeding here in the Bay Area. And let's not only increase your chances of making it to the middle class, if you are already in the middle class and struggling to stay there, let's increase your chance of staying there. Higher education shouldn't be a death sentence. It is frankly shameful that the student debt is now the largest debt in our country here today, larger than our credit card debt. It is shameful that you have to spend so much money just to have a fighting chance to own a home, raise a family, and maybe even one day have a decent pension. We have a legacy here in San Francisco of being bold and progressive. We are one of the first cities in this country to decide to marry gay couples, even though it was against the law. We are one of the first cities in the country to establish single-payer universal health care. And we were the first city in the country to say that all workers in San Francisco should make at minimum $15 an hour by 2018. This is a dispiriting and heartbreaking time here in this country. For many Americans who believe in equality, Trump's rise to presidency based on his calls to make America great, premised on exclusion and discrimination, is incredibly hard for many of us to swallow. So I think that our country needs San Francisco more than ever to be the beacon of light and say that how we make America great again should be premised on inclusion and investment for all of us and not just some of us. And second, our responsibility grows because we are one of the we are one of the wealthiest cities in the world, which means that we can not only dream up these concepts, we can't actually afford to pay for them. Many municipalities across the country who would love to do something like this simply can't even afford to fantasize about making community college free for their city as we can here today. So I argue that Free City College should not be means tested and it should not be phased in, and that we should make it happen this year because we can. So I want to address the final question, which is, are we obligated to dedicate this funding to Free City College? And is there a promise that we have made to our citizens? So I want to go over the history of this policy today. Last December, at actually exactly this time, I introduced the drafting of an ordinance that would increase our real estate luxury transfer tax. I called it the Fair Share Package. I said we can and we should ask those who have profited the most in our luxury housing market to pay a little bit more to make San Francisco more equitable for all of us. And this made sense. If you are fortunate to be one of the few individuals in the city that can sell a building or home for $5 million or more, I think it would be very hard for you to argue that the value of your property is based on your own sole hard work. The reason why property is so valuable here in San Francisco is because we all made the city great. We made this a city that everyone wanted to live in and work in, raising the value of your property. So we're just asking you to share a little bit of that back into the city, back into the community, as we all created that value, to help make this a city for all of us. Now, over the next 4 months, while drafting this ordinance, our office spent a lot of time thinking about how we could best invest the $44 million that this revenue measure was expected to generate. And we spent a lot of time talking in the community and reaching out. Now, the obvious choice, especially given the body of my work on the Board of Supervisors, was to fund affordable housing. But we had just passed a $350 million affordable housing bond. And Labor then approached our office and said, well, instead of subsidizing housing and subsidizing this, why don't we actually put more money into the pockets of everyday San Franciscans? And Labor Council and AFT 2121 said, why don't we make City College free again for all San Francisco residents? Now, as someone that is proud to have been the author of the minimum wage ordinance, which, by the way, passed 77.5% back in 2014, I just want to say, when we talk about putting more money into the pockets of everyday residents, it is more than raising the minimum wage, because raising the minimum wage isn't going to lift more people into the middle class. Raising the minimum wage only lifts people out of destitution, because even at $15 an hour, we know that that is not enough to survive here in San Francisco. But this is what we do know about City College. The average job available for a graduate of City College here in San Francisco today is $11,000 more from that same individual with just a high school diploma. And so when we talk about what that investment means, it is truly an investment in helping people really change their life's circumstances. I want to thank again Labor Council and AFT 2121 for bringing this proposal here today. And I want to emphasize to everyone here in this room that we are not asking you for a handout. We are not asking for general fund dollars. What we did is we are proposing new revenue dollars, which we brought forward to the board in July and asked this board to support. And I want to thank the 10 members of this board that did support that. But we also asked you to make it clear that it was our intention to make these dollars dedicated to making City College free. We fought, we campaigned, we door knocked, we phone banked for this money to come in. And we didn't do that to solve the financial woes of the city. We did this to make City College free again today. Now, I keep hearing over and over, the mayor and the board is not obligated to use Proposition W to make City College free because it is not a dedicated tax. And yes, there is not a single word in the ordinance of Prop W that references free City College. But that doesn't mean that the voters didn't provide us a mandate to make City College free here today. First of all, by state law, we are prohibited from dedicating dollars from a real estate transfer tax. That is why we did not do that. We were prohibited by law from actually putting that into the language of the ordinance. And it is true that while there are some voters who actually read the language of the ordinance before voting, I would say that the vast majority of voters get their information on how they are deciding to vote on a proposition from the ballot argument, from the official proponent and opposition argument, from our newspapers, from our website, and from social media. The ballot statement, our official proponent, and even the official opponent argument all referenced Free City College. Every website, every Facebook post, every political mailer, every poster on Prop W referenced Free City College. And whether it was the Chronicle who opposed Proposition W or the San Francisco Examiner who endorsed Proposition W, both wrote that the revenue was designed to make City College free. Frankly, I find this argument childish and a bunch of political talk. I accept that some voters voted for Prop W not knowing that it was intended to make City College free, but I want someone to look at me in the face and tell me that the majority of voters did not know when they were checking off number 23 of 24 local ballot measures on page 5 of the ballot that they did not know that it was intended to make City College here free today. So colleagues, I'm asking you to do something extraordinary for our city today. One is to vote for the supplemental appropriation of $9 million, which will guarantee that in the fall semester of 2017, that every San Francisco resident will have an opportunity to go to City College for free because they are a recent public high school graduate, an adult that is looking for additional training or classes to better their lives, or a senior who simply just wants to take credit courses to increase their skills here today. But I'm also asking you after this vote to ask the mayor to do the same and to appropriate the money that our voters have asked to make City College here free today. Let's make San Francisco not just the first of many things, but let's make San Francisco another first. Let's make San Francisco the first city to make community college free for all of our residents. So colleagues, I ask for your support. I want to thank and recognize many of the folks in the room here today that made this possible. First of all, of course, the AFT 2121, Tim Killikeller and Elisa Messer, our San Francisco Labor Council, Tim Paulson and Mike Casey, the Chancellor of City College, Susan Lamb, as well as all seven trustees of the City College Board of Trustees, the students of CCSF who came out to campaign for this so that more of your friends could come and join you in their classes in the fall. United Educators of San Francisco, and finally my staff, in particular Ivy Lee and Bobby Lopez, for all of their work in drafting this ordinance and organizing this here today. Colleagues, I want to thank you for the opportunity for us to have a conversation here today about what it will mean to make San Francisco great, and hopefully in our leadership to show what it can mean to make this country great again by investing in our people.
Thank you, Supervisor Kim.